Hey guys, welcome to Now That's Debatable. This is your host, Fantastic Facade. I am joined with my trusty co-host, Triple A the Humanist. Today we are going to be doing a little bit of talk about Christianity and fine-tuning of the universe when it comes to physics. And given the pre-conversation before the show started, I assume the God of Christianity and how that comes into play into physics and the early universe. So we have a special guest. He goes by Angel. His face is up on the screen. No video, but that's perfectly fine with us. No doxing on our end, nothing like that. We're going to go ahead and kick this off and get this started. So without any further ado, Angel, the first thing we like to do is kind of give our guest the floor, and you can kind of tell us a little bit about what you believe and why. And we'll just kind of have a discussion about whatever you find important and what you want to kind of say, given that we're two atheists, and I assume you and I, or at least the three of us, are going to disagree on some things there.
Yeah. I thought that we would start with the fine-tuning argument for God. I do find that compelling myself, especially in the initial state of the universe.
What specifically about the universe makes you think it's fine-tuned?
Well, the preciseness of the low entropy of the initial state of the universe.
What about that makes you think it's fine-tuned? Like the preciseness of the low entropy? What you mean?
Yeah.
Like just
Well, this is goes back to the mathematician Sir Roger Penrose, where he did a calculation of the initial state of the universe had to be as precise as 1 part to 10 to the power 123. Now, this calculation is this is just.
So you're saying like something is really uncommon or unlikely, therefore a God. Is that essentially your argument?
Right now I want to we could start with design. I don't want to just jump straight into Judeo-Christianity.
Sure. Well, I'm saying whatever you think is the most compelling argument for fine-tuning, like let's go with that.
Yeah, just again, I find that the most compelling, as well as when you want to get into the different the laws of nature, the constants of nature, as well as I just
let's try to narrow it down though. Like there's a universe, we agree that exists. What about the universe makes you think that it's fine-tuned? Initially you had said low entropy at the beginning of the universe.
Right.
Okay. Well, so, what if it wasn't designed, what should it have been like?
Well, initially, if we're gonna open this up into Christianity, I guess we'll deal with that. But it's kind of these things kind of roll into each other.
Sure.
Like, why is there something rather than nothing?
Yeah, but so my question specifically, then you're saying like the beginning of the universe, right, had low entropy, and you said that's indicative of intelligent design. Now, if the universe was not intelligently designed, what would you think the beginning of the universe look like? Would it be high entropy?
Well, you wouldn't see these. You wouldn't see the Big Bang as special as it was. You wouldn't see like these constants and quantities just there at the beginning that later life could evolve.
Well, why not?
Because at the beginning we see it to be very fine-tuned for various reasons, from the calculations of Sir Roger Penrose, as I just articulated. There's also
I don't see them as being fine-tuned. Like I see them as existing in a specific state. Now, whether they could have been in some other form, I don't know. But I don't look at entropy itself and think, oh, because there's low entropy, therefore there's a God.
No, that's not how I jump at it.
Okay.
But again, just I understand that you guys are evolutionists. I am as well. I believe in evolution. But again, when we deal with these issues, is why you have this precision and fine tuning that goes back to the very beginning, even the expansion rate of the universe. That if it wasn't the way it was,
let's talk about
be able to evolve.
Okay, so you're saying if we were to change the Hubble constant, life wouldn't be able to evolve? Is that what you're saying?
There's many things. There's a cosmological constant.
Let's pick one. Let's pick one. The cosmological constant. Now you're talking about the expansion of the universe was about 73.8 kilometers per second per megaparsec, right? That's what you're talking about. The Hubble constant. Let's just pick that one. All right. What about the Hubble constant makes you think there is a God?
When you're looking at the whole, caboodle, when you're looking at just, the universe as its entirety, you guys know that you guys believe in the Big Bang, I'm assuming.
Yes, but yeah, I mean that's an inference because there's expansion of the universe. Like the Hubble constant is a thing, so of course there's a Big Bang. But what I'm saying is, so space is expanding, right, at a certain rate, right, and that rate changes over time. It also changes because we get more precise with our measurements, right? And the last time I checked, it's about 73.8 kilometers per second per megaparsec. What about that value makes you think that it's fine-tuned? Like if it was 50 kilometers per second per megaparsec, would it not be fine-tuned?
Well, what I'm saying is when you get into when you're faced with the initial conditions of the universe being what they are, I mean they cry out for an explanation. And one of the objections by the great Stephen Hawking was that yes, he agreed that in order for there to be biological life to evolve, there has to be these constants and quantities that are so
not the Hubble constant. Like I don't see why the rate that the universe is expanding would affect life. That makes no sense to me.
Again, I'm quoting people like Sir Roger Penrose.
Sure, you're saying Sir Roger Penrose said that if you were to alter the Hubble constant, you wouldn't have life.
No, he did the calculations for the initial entropy and the usable energy for the universe. Okay. Again.
So Angel, so what I want to do, I want to try like narrow it down, right? Because we're kind of jumping everywhere. So like you had mentioned the Hubble constant. You also had mentioned the 1 second. Okay, you had also had mentioned I'm sorry, the low entropy at the beginning of the universe.
And what I'm saying is, so these things, again, I'm sure you read Stephen Hawking's Grand Design. He doesn't deny fine tuning, but what he does is he offers an explanation around it, which is the multiverse. This is how they get around the whole design argument. So far, from what I heard from the main objection from these scientists, they don't deny the fine tuning. They just kind of get around it to say, there's many universes, and we just happen to be the one with this hospitable for life.
So I think you have a misconception about the multiverse. So like the reason why scientists theorize a multiverse, this has nothing to do with God. They're trying to solve a problem. Specifically, what they're trying to do is they're trying to blend general relativity with the equations in quantum mechanics, and for some reason gravity just does not like being quantized. So they're looking for a more fundamental theory: superstring theory, loop quantum gravity, M theory. And all of these theories, their math predicts a multiverse, but it has nothing to do with God.
Well,
They're looking for a grand unified theory. So they're not positing a multiverse to try to get rid of God.
Scientists didn't recognize the fine tuning of this universe not until they came up with this hypothesis of the multiverse. I find that very interesting and very telling that they didn't really want to, it was just something that really wasn't talking about, dealing with these things I've mentioned, the cosmological constant, the initial entropy of the universe. Mm-hmm. These things weren't really dealt with until there was, the multiverse was, kind of accepted. But again,
multiverse isn't accepted. Like I'd say, I mean, there's no empirical evidence of it. But I mean, you can look into this yourself. The multiverse has nothing to do with God. It comes from the mathematics of attempts to formulate one grand unified theory. They do not care about God. It has nothing to do with that. And the multiverse wouldn't even solve the problem, because then you could just say, where did the multiverse come from? Oh, God. That's exactly what you're doing with the universe. So it wouldn't even solve the problem.
But no matter what, we still can't get away of the theological implications of whether it's a multiverse or just our universe. Again, like you just said, we still can't get away from God. Even in, our modern way of looking at the universe with, trying to, doing everything to write God out of everything, but we can still seem to get away from God, even with the multiverse.
But again, that's not what they're doing. They do not give 2 cents about God. It is totally irrelevant. That's not where the multiverse come from. It's come from the mathematics of attempts to come up with one grand unified theory, and then that math predicts a multiverse. So they do not care about God.
But let me ask a question, if I could. Go ahead. Was someone going to say something?
I was going to say, can I ask a question? What do you think a universe would look like that wasn't tuned?
That's what I asked like 10 minutes ago. Yeah.
Like, do you think a universe could exist without it being tuned?
But this is it is fine-tuned.
Well, I'm not asking is it fine-tuned. I'm asking, hypothetically, could a universe exist that isn't fine-tuned?
Well, knowing what we know from the laws of physics and getting into looking at these again, the constants, the quantities, I'm
not asking specific to our universe, though. So I'm not saying like it even needs to contain life. I'm asking, can a universe in general exist without being fine-tuned? Because I'm not asking for a universe that contains life or that contains Earth or that contains humans or anything like that. I'm just asking, could a universe generically exist without being tuned?
Well, my point is that that's not what we have. So from what we know, if these constants were changed, if these things were not so precise, no, we wouldn't have any life.
So
I'm not asking I think you're missing life, the point,
because we're not. So let's forget about life, for instance. Okay, you're saying that this universe has properties that you think indicate a grand designer, a God. So what we're asking is, a universe that did not have any sort of intelligent design behind it, what properties would it have? What would that universe look like? What would an undesigned universe look like?
Okay, well, to me, God is necessary.
So that's not
so,
okay.
but
Do you remember what I was asking?
Because this is relevant. Because without God, there wouldn't even be anything.
So that's not what I'm asking. So whether or not, so we're saying without God there wouldn't be anything. So are you saying that it's impossible for an undesigned universe to exist? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is like we know in this universe life could evolve, but it goes back to a beginning that's extremely precise and fine-tuned. And if it was not so, life could not evolve. And as we keep going back, coupled with things such as why is there something rather than nothing?
So Angel, okay, look. I'm asking like a specific question for a very specific reason. Okay. I'd like you to answer that. What would a undesigned universe look like?
You tell me. I mean, that's not what we're finding as
So what to me?
I'll push you on that then. Since you don't want to go that way, I'll push you on that. We don't have good evidence that the universe is designed, and we don't have good evidence that it's fine-tuned for life. So Roger Penrose did calculate 10 to the 123rd for the existence of Earth as it is. But, I mean, not even including the fact of multiverses, there's less than a 0.10 to the 123rd planets that don't contain life in the universe. Could you explain why you think that's finely tuned for life? Because if there's 10 to the 123rd times planets, and only one of them in the whole universe contains life to our knowledge, that's the only one we've ever observed life on, ever. And that's the only one we can observe life on in the history of mankind. To our knowledge, the universe contains precisely one planet out of more than 10 to the 123rd of planets that has life. Why do you think it's finely tuned for life? Because no other planet has it, and 99.99999% of all life on Earth has already gone extinct. Seems like even in the best case scenario, you have a 0.00001% of life currently existing on a speck of dirt that is a fraction of our galaxy, not to mention our universe, right? So if you're talking about the universe as a whole being fine-tuned for life, why do you think so? Because as far as we've observed, there is no life anywhere other than Earth.
Because if things weren't the way they are, we wouldn't have life here as we know it.
And what would have to change for us not to have life here? Or what would have to stay the same? What do you think would have to stay the same?
Again, there's just so many. There's like...
Well, can you give me like one or two examples?
I have given you guys examples going back to the beginning.
I'm asking like one or two examples specific to life on Earth,
you guys
right?
also concurred with me, but you guys, instead of dealing with the fine tuning, you say, okay, well, there's no life someplace else.
No.
Dealing with the life,
Well, I'm appealing.
So, Angel,
I'm appealing to the argument that you're saying the universe is fine tuned, right? You said the whole universe is fine tuned for life. Or is it just fine-tuned for life on Earth?
Well, we still have to deal with why we
know. No. You're making the argument it's fine-tuned, right?
You see that it did not have to be that way. So
I'm asking you, Angel. I'm not trying to be rude, and I'm not trying to overtalk you. But you said the universe is fine-tuned. Is the universe fine-tuned for life on Earth, or is the universe fine-tuned in general? Because if you're saying that it's fine-tuned in general for life, then I have a problem with that due to the numbers that you quoted earlier from Roger Penrose. If you think it's fine-tuned for life on Earth, I want to know why you think specifically Earth was the chosen vessel for life in this universe. And what specifically, like one or two things for Earth, would have to change at some other planet in the universe to provide it life or to take life away.
okay, because of the you brought up Roger Penrose again. Because of that, Roger Penrose would say, because if the expansion wasn't right, the Big Bang, this whole universe, again, it is fine-tuned, and it's not just our little patch of the galaxy, it's the whole thing, the whole expansion rate.
All right, so Angel, so you said that it is fine-tuned. That's a bald-ass assertion. That's not evidence. That's what evidence is what we're asking for.
I've given you,
you have not. So like you would name something specific, and then I'll push you on that, and then you change the topic to something else. Like remember, like the first thing you brought up was the low entropy at the beginning of the universe, and I started pushing you on that, and then you brought up the Hubble constant, which had nothing to do with low entropy.
No, because all these things collected, all these things.
Okay, but I'm not interested. Pick one. Pick the best one that you think is going to demonstrate your point, and let's talk about that one.
Okay. Could we deal with the elephant in the room that Paul Davies, Michael Dudge,
you're dropping names. I drop evidence, bro. Give me evidence.
Okay,
I don't know who those people are.
Leonard Subskin, all these guys say that what I've told you is fine-tuned. They would agree that it's fine-tuned, and it needs an explanation.
Okay, now tell me what is their reason for believing that?
Because the odds of, I mean,
so what do you mean? So the low odds doesn't mean it's fine-tuned. Anything that ever happens in a universe is highly improbable. Any configuration of the atoms, wherever they are in space, in time, is highly improbable. That doesn't mean that someone designed it that way. If I were to take a deck of cards and throw it down, the card said that flip face up. That specific configuration of cards facing up is going to be improbable. That doesn't mean that it was designed that way.
Yeah,
that's not
even close to dealing with the equations.
Let's put the equations in. Let me put the equations in perspective for you. Right, a deck of cards standard without
having an ice sculpture, a really elaborate one, drop into a hole that was perfectly fit and designed for that. Now
Are you familiar with the mud puddle theory?
Yeah, and that is not a good analogy.
I mean, it's exactly what you just did, except you used ice instead of water.
That has to be in a puddle. Again, a better analogy with the design we're seeing is like what I just said with an ice sculpture.
Okay,
so you just changed the properties of the water. You didn't change the analogy. The problem is, like, it doesn't matter what the shape of the ice sculpture is. It's still going to seem that way, right? Because if it falls into a hole that seems perfect for it, it's going to seem like it's perfect for it. That's by nature the definition of the argument.
Also, I want to know, his analogy just completely poisoned the well, because you defined it as an ice sculpture, right? Sculptures, we know, don't come about naturally. They require intelligent design. That's why it's a sculpture. So it's a very circular argument that you just used. So, all right. So, but let's.
Okay, so we're just gonna disagree on that. If you want to move on to other issues you have with,
I mean, you didn't give us anything. Okay, but let's say this. So you're Christian, right?
I am.
Your God, is he all powerful?
Yes, he is.
Okay, why would he need to fine tune anything?
Because it shows his wisdom and power. If God had to come and didn't make the laws of physics the way they are,
no. So I don't think you understand my question. So, why would
at the beginning then, and if he had to come and intervene here and there?
No, he would. Why would he need to intervene? Angel,
that would be a lesser designer.
Angel. So please listen. You don't understand what I'm saying. All right. So all right. Now you had said that if the constants, you didn't get very specific because when I pushed you kept changing topics. However, whatever constants you're referring to, right? Let's talk about the Hubble constant, and somehow that affects life. I don't get the connection there, but let's say how somehow that affects life. Are you saying that if the Hubble constant was different, that life couldn't exist, and not even God could change that?
God made the laws of physics.
Okay, that's not what I asked. What I'm saying is, if the Hubble constant were to change, would life cease to exist, and not even God be able to change that?
God, by definition, can change it.
Okay, so then it's not really fine-tuned, right? Because the Hubble constant, whatever configuration it had, whatever value it has, life could persist, which means it's not fine-tuned.
Like to make it a little more plain to understand, right? If God is all powerful, he could have made humans capable of living on the sun. So being fine-tuned Earth doesn't really make sense, right? Because God doesn't have to fine-tune things because he's omnipotent. So whatever God says is. If he said that humans now live on the sun, because your God is omnipotent, humans would live on the sun, right?
Yeah, but you got to let me talk as well. What I'm saying is that God made the laws of physics what they are, and he doesn't have to come and intervene within and change the laws of physics and change anything. He made it. These things go back to the beginning.
Okay, but Angel, so that's not, you're not answering the question.
Okay, so God made the universe the way it is to show his wisdom, to show that he's this great mathematician.
You're not answering the question. Okay, why would God have to put the universe with any sort of order in order to create things? He's omnipotent, right?
To show that there is a God.
But any configuration of him creating the earth, like any configuration of a God configuring the universe would indicate that he configured the universe.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, to go back to your Roger Penrose thing and to put it in perspective for you with the deck of cards, right? God is infinitely intelligent and powerful, right? So let's say the deck of cards are in order, new deck order, right? Out of the box. And you say that is the universe finely tuned for us, right? That's the way God put things together. God could also shuffle those deck of 52 cards, which is 10 to the 52 times, right? Which is exactly 1/2, well, slightly over 1/2 of Roger Penrose's theory of 10 to the 113, right? Of a mixture of cards. So God could shuffle that deck of cards and change how gravity affects things, change where humans live, change how far planets are from each other, and it wouldn't change anything to his ultimate plan, and it wouldn't be any more fine-tuned because God just did it that way. Because God is all-powerful, it would still work if he is indeed all-powerful. So if God said humans can live on the sun, then if us as a bystander currently living on Earth say that's not humanly possible, and then the people that are living on the sun would say we've been designed to live on the sun.
All right. So you guys
see the problem there?
You guys would believe that a hurricane could go through a junkyard and assemble a fully functional Boeing jet. You guys believe that?
No, neither of us claim that.
Okay, but again, you're willing to believe all these things could just happen against the odds. Against
what odds? What are the odds? So
the problem with odds is that the only thing we have is what we can observe.
Right.
So the odds of it happening are exactly 1 because they have happened.
We don't know how many other possibilities the universe could have been. Like, what if the Hubble constant was doubled? We don't know if that's even possible. There may be some undiscovered law of physics that prevents that. So we don't know what the possibilities are. So when you're sitting here coming up with these calculations from I don't know where, and you're saying it's improbable, Like I don't even see how you're getting there. But my point is that the improbability shouldn't affect God, because if he's all powerful, if he's omnipotent, then the universe, no matter how it is, no matter what the properties are, you can change the mass of the electron, you can change the Hubble constant, you can change the value of gravity. No matter how it is, God would be able to create life, which completely undercuts your fine-tuning argument. There's no need for an omnipotent God to fine-tune anything. Me and Facade, we both work in computer science, right? We both work in computer engineering field. We build complex things all the time. The reason we have to fine-tune things is because we're not omnipotent. If we were, then we could just throw junk code into something and then boom, perfectly working software. If you're saying the universe is fine-tuned, you're saying that there are some these laws of physics that dictate the way God can operate.
Yeah. The reason why you see me dropping so many names, because these people again say that this universe is fine-tuned. Paul Davies.
So I don't care. Right, because I can name people that say that it's not fine-tuned. I can Sean Carroll says it's not fine-tuned. It just looks that way. I can talk about.
But that's just one science. The majority.
So what? What I'm saying is the name dropping.
The majority of people don't.
The majority, in all honesty, can't deny the fine-tuning.
The majority of
scientists don't. They don't say fine-tuning is a thing.
They don't deny the fine-tuning. Now,
yes, they do.
They may stop there because they may not like God, but
it has nothing to do with God. It has all to do with evidence, man. I don't know why you think that scientists are just trying to kick God out. Like what you do is you examine evidence and you build a theory around it and you come up with the best possible conclusion, right? And since God has never come up in the evidence, we don't include him. It's not that we're trying to exclude God. It's just that there's never been an assertion by God saying otherwise, right? At least to our knowledge. So what we do is we take things and like all these brilliant physicists and mathematicians, and they come up with these complex formulas to come up with things like the expansion of the universe, the rate of the expansion of the universe, right? Or the distance between us and the Big Bang, or a number of other things, right? And what they're doing is they're taking what we can observe and they're coming up with mathematical formulas to plot this out on paper so we can express it. It's never, hey, let's see if we can ignore God in this and just do the same thing I just did. Because God isn't present to begin with in the calculations. It's not a reason to kick God out. And most physicists don't believe in intelligent design because most physicists and mathematicians are atheists. Because they don't ever see evidence for a God.
Let me ask you guys a question, because you guys might say that you're being honest, but anyway, there's some genuineness that I do have to call into question. So I want to ask this: where do the laws of physics come from?
So if you're talking about the lambda CDM model, right, the standard model of cosmology. What it shows is that if you go to a high enough temperature, the weak and electromagnetic force combine into one force called the electroweak interaction. And if you keep going, that happens at about 10 to the 15th power Kelvin, right? So it's really hot. And then if you keep going to significantly higher, I think it's like I don't know the exact figure, but it's significantly hotter than that. The strong interaction combines into the weak electromagnetic force. And what we believe is that if you keep going, gravity is going to combine and you're going to have one grand unified force. At that temperature, general relativity stops making sense, right? Because when something generates heat, right? When something generates heat, it you have radiation coming from it at a certain frequency, right? You listen, Angel?
I'm listening to every word.
Okay. So what happens when we talk about the wavelength of the photon coming out? That's that radiation, right? What happens when that wavelength comes shorter than a Planck length? What happens? We don't know.
Go ahead. Yeah, but going back, you still.
I was answering your question.
We could get into all this, but you notice my initial question was.
I was answering your question.
Where do the laws of physics come from?
So I was answering your question. So where do the laws of physics come from? So it goes all. So the beginning of the Big Bang is not the beginning of everything. It's the beginning of when we're able to describe stuff, right? So when we're talking about the amount of heat that it would take to combine gravity with those other forces, we're not able to describe those conditions. So the lambda CDM model breaks down. General relativity cannot describe it. So as far as we can tell, they've always existed. They didn't come from anywhere.
That's an assumption you're making.
It's not an assumption. I said as far as we can tell. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the available evidence, and then you get to a certain temperature and a certain amount of space, and the equations stop working. That's not an assumption. That's an observation.
You kind of deified the laws of physics.
We didn't deify. No.
Exist platonically.
Angel, no. You're wrong. What I'm saying is because the tools that we're using are no longer useful, we cannot say what's happening. So we have no idea what happens before that. There are attempts to explain this. Superstring theory is the one attempt. In the mathematics of superstring theory is where you come up with a multiverse. Do you see? That's the connection. They do not care about God. You're just totally wrong in this.
No, again, I see the multiverse as a way of. It's like an escape hatch.
You can see it that way, but you're wrong.
Of not dealing with what we see in our own universe.
You can see it that way, but you're wrong. The multiverse comes from the mathematics, which is an attempt to explain the problem that I just explained to you. But at a certain point, we cannot describe what's happening.
So you assume the laws of physics are eternal?
No. I said
no.
as far as
our observations go, they give evidence that they existed even before our mathematics start to break down.
Yes, there's no reason to think that the laws of physics cease to exist when the math stopped working.
Okay, so where do the laws of physics come from? Who chooses the laws?
There's no reason to think there's a who, but there's at a certain point where the equations stop working. So once the equations stop working, then you stop saying things, because otherwise you're just making up stuff like what you're doing.
But this universe comes from the laws of general relativity, quantum mechanics. Okay, who chooses that? Where did that come from?
That's the question that you had just asked, and as I explained, so general relativity and quantum mechanics cannot explain this. So we don't have a model to go back further than that. So imagine if you're out in the ocean and you want to see how far the ocean is. So you take some binoculars and you look and you're like, I can see pretty far. And then you take a telescope and you look and you still can't see the end of it. Is it rational to assume that the ocean ends where your telescope ceased to give information? Is it rational to assume that the ocean ends where you can no longer see?
Everything comes into existence.
So I'm asking. So no. So Angel, I'm asking you a question. So, but you're going somewhere else again. I just want you to answer my question. It's a yes or no question. Do you assume that the ocean ends where your sight ends?
Yeah, but that's not what I'm doing.
Yes, you said yes.
That's not what I'm doing. What I'm asking.
That's not what he's saying either. Hang on a second. Like the analogy here is that we have mathematics that work very well for a lot of things. We have mathematics for let me kind of go into it a little bit. Like Newtonian gravity was pretty good until Einstein came along, and then we had Einsteinian gravity, right? And then we're trying to understand gravity itself a little more, and then quantum mechanics starts getting developed a little more intelligently and getting more developed. And now we have a problem, because gravity and quantum mechanics don't really mix and mash well. But we know that quantum mechanics and gravity were present in the early universe at the time of the Big Bang. Things like superstring theory, M theory, and quantum loop gravity are all mathematical scientific attempts to come up with a way to mash these two things together so they make sense not only at a cosmic level, but also at a quantum level. Because things that are infinitely small, like beyond the size of things that we thought ever existed 100 years ago, that small, quantum mechanics, and things that are infinitely large, the entire known observable universe, we're trying to come up with a unified theory that can mathematically put everything on one scale. So things like M theory and superstring theory and quantum loop gravity have all been posited as a way to do that. None of them completely solve the issue. If so, we'd likely adopt it and we'd get rid of general relativity. And it's not because general relativity doesn't work. And when I say get rid of it, I mean, we just adopt this as a better version of general relativity. We'd call it whatever it was, whether it be superstring theory or something else. But just like we don't abandon Newtonian gravity when we're calculating things like the rotation of the moon around the Earth, because it works very well, we just don't use quantum gravity to describe that, because we're talking about celestial bodies. And quantum gravity would not be able to solve how the moon goes around the Earth, which is why we're trying to come up with something that works on both playing fields. Something that works at a micro level and at a macro level. That is all those theories are trying to do. Now, what you're saying is that scientists are trying to come up with theories of like multiverse to get rid of a god. What I said probably half an hour ago is that they don't really care about the idea of God because he's never inserted himself into it. And then when we ask you about specifically designed things, it seems that you just kind of go off subject, or when we ask you, is it possible for things not to be designed? Or even when we point out the flaw...
I all due respect, I asked you guys where the laws of physics come from, and you haven't answered the question.
Well, so
for all intents and purposes, the laws of physics have always existed.
Angel, I did answer your question. I said we don't know. The model can't determine that.
Speculating, it may be string theory, it may be this, it may be that. But again, you guys are moving again to outside of our universe. But we
not moving outside the universe. The strings would be.
We can't get to them.
The universe itself would be made of the strings.
So there's no evidence. There's no evidence of these strings. Have you ever seen a string in string theory?
You wouldn't be able to see a string.
That's my point.
I don't think you understand what strings are.
You can't see an atom either.
That's my very point.
You can't see atoms.
You can't see electrons.
That's my very point. So you guys are moving.
So your point is that you can't see atoms. Therefore, what? Atoms don't exist.
Therefore, God.
You guys are speculating, and if you and all these things.
No, just not being able to see it is not speculating.
God is irrelevant in your minds. And
well, because you have to demonstrate that he exists. Can you do that? As a Christian, how would you demonstrate to me that the God of the Bible exists?
Again, we have these laws. Without it, there's a geometry generating mechanism. Okay.
No. But God, Angel. Here's the catch: God is omnipotent, so He doesn't need the laws.
Yeah, these numbers that you keep quoting, like the 10 to the 123rd, it's irrelevant to an omnipotent, omniscient being.
Yes, so
because God could do whatever. God could roll an infinite-sided dice, and things would still work out fine because God is omnipotent.
This is saying you're undercutting your own argument. You're saying the universe is fine-tuned. If it was changed, you wouldn't have life, and not even God can change that.
I didn't say that. I said
okay. So if He can change it, then there's no reason to think that it's fine-tuned. The universe, no matter what its properties, you could have life.
You guys are twisting what I'm saying, but look at
please untwist it. You have a contradiction. God, is He? Okay, I'm sorry, Angel. Question:
if you don't even peel to scientists saying that this universe is fine-tuned, then obviously there is a bias there that we're not going to get over that chasm. I mean, we're not going to get over that.
So
let's just move on.
No. I'm not going to let you get away with that. So what we have said this whole time is that we see no evidence that is fine-tuned. We have been asking you for that evidence, and you have failed over and over again to present it.
Oh, I know, but the evidence I gave you made these
What
scientists
was
say
it?
This universe
You didn't give it.
Is fine-tuned.
You didn't give it. You said that there was a improbability of the constants having these specific values, but you seem to undercut your own God because he's omnipotent and he doesn't need those values.
He made it that way so we could.
You don't know that. That's prove it.
He made it that way
prove
so
it.
We could see that there is a designer, a mathematician behind the laws of physics. There was a lawgiver. That is God.
That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense, Angel, because if the values, whatever they are right now, if you were to double them, you could still have life, and then you could say God made it that way to have evidence of them. It doesn't do that.
All right, well, okay, so again,
I'm just
we could deal with this and kind of drag this out, but you guys already dug your heels in.
I'm just trying to figure out why you don't see the point
evidence
of fine tuning, though. Like I'm okay with getting past the physics argument because it seems that, like, and not trying to be rude, but it seems like we've studied a lot of physics and maybe you're not as familiar, and that's okay. Great, time to study. But you claim to be a Christian, and then you say your God is all-powerful, and then when we point out the problem of an all-powerful being having to fine-tune something, you're not able to address that. Do you not understand the contradiction there?
I have addressed it, but you guys keep changing what I'm saying.
So,
can you clarify?
Angel, your answer doesn't make any sense. We let you answer. Your answer was that God made it that way, so we would have evidence that he exists.
Couldn't God make it anyway so we'd have examples? Like, couldn't he make it anyway so that we'd have evidence of his existence?
Right.
If so, then it's not fine-tuned, right? Fine-tuning is like let's pretend for whatever reason there is a multiverse and God is in control of all of them, right? So to fine-tune our universe for us, right, God would go back and tinker with it, and he would make adjustments so that things would happen the way that they do. That's what tuning is, right? That's what tuning is on cars. That's what it is on computers. That's what it is on every use of the word tuning. So if God is omnipotent, he has no reason to tune because he didn't get it wrong the first time. Because he knew how it was going to come out. Why not stand firm on the grounds that your God is omnipotent and say God doesn't make mistakes, therefore he doesn't need to tune them?
You guys are twisting what I'm saying. And so,
then clarify for me.
Please.
I tried to say, where did the laws of physics come from?
We gave you the answer. So the answer is we don't know.
Let me try this another way. Why is there something rather than nothing?
So, so let me answer both questions. We don't know where the laws of physics came from, where the grand unified force come from. It may be the case where it has to exist. Now you're asking, why is there something rather than nothing?
Okay,
right?
but why
this is an age-old question, right? Because now you're going to posit God, but you didn't really answer the question because God is something. So if you say why is there something rather than nothing, and you say because God, well, God is something. Okay. You see what I'm saying? You didn't answer the question. So why is there something at all? Saying that because of God, you're just saying there is something.
Because when I examine all the evidence from the fine-tuning of this universe, and I know that that everything has a cause, every contingent thing has a cause. You have to get back to.
Is there such thing as a non-contingent thing?
I believe that thing is God by definition.
Special pleading. Got it.
Oh, by definition.
Okay. All right. Here, let's play that game. I think that wizards exist by definition, and they made God.
Yeah, they're the prerequisite of God.
Wizards by definition. How I'm defining wizards is that they're a necessary precondition for the existence of the Judeo-Christian God. So wizards exist.
That would go against Occam's razor.
Well, so does a God, but
so it's a God.
What's your point?
Yes, it does. So
okay, let's pretend all we have is the universe and God, right? Occam's razor says universe exists, universe with God exists. What's the lesser of two things? One or two? Occam's razor, buddy. That's it. You just lost God. Congratulations. We have a universe without God.
A God who's the lawgiver of the laws of physics.
A necessary precondition for the universe, right?
A necessary being.
Yeah, and that's how I'm defining wizards.
Again, that's now you guys are just being silly.
No, I'm making the same argument you're making. So disarm my argument. It is the exact same argument.
Let's hold on. Hey guys,
it is literally the exact same argument.
I want you to clarify something for me, Angel. Okay, can you tell me what Occam's razor is? Like, what does it state?
It states the most simplest explanation, that being the most rational.
No. So the idea of Occam's razor is that like you don't unnecessarily
posit. Yeah. Okay. So again, you're positing wizards and all these things.
No. So you had cut me off before I had finished. So like so you don't unnecessarily like complicate explanations, right? So let's say you have a hoof in the ground, right? Now, could a hoof come from? Look at an animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So now, once we started adding properties to this animal, we increase the probability of us being wrong because the evidence wouldn't demonstrate that. So if there's a hoof in the ground, we know an animal is capable of making that. What if you see you measure the hoof print and you see that it's a horse? Cool. We know horses exist, but you wouldn't posit a unicorn because there's no evidence of unicorns, but we have evidence of horses. Right. And so this is what you're doing. Right. So we talk about the universe. We talk about the way things exist, the earth, stars, etc. We know that there are laws of physics at play that's capable of creating those things. You want to know how planets form? I can tell you all about that. I can tell you about how stars form. I can tell you a hell of a lot about the Big Bang. Right. And we have laws that can demonstrate all of those things that we can see empirically through what's called hadron colliders and through the mathematics and general relativity and quantum mechanics. Now, you go past that and say there's also this omnipotent being who has certain opinions on different things and stuff, and that is controlling the laws of physics. There's no reason to posit that. You're breaking Occam's razor.
No, but again, when you want to get into the whole cumulative case, then we have to take things into the moral argument.
No. We're not. Let's talk about morals. No. We can't keep jumping everywhere. Like I would have been fine then with the moral argument. Okay, but we were talking about Occam's razor specifically, and now you're bringing up morals.
No, because ultimately the thing said it would be the topics could incorporate Christianity. And all
sure, but for now, we were talking about Occam's razor, and I was explaining how you violate that. As a matter of fact, Fasad's wizard is an omnipotent. No, hold on. Fasad's wizard is an omnipotent, so it's a smaller violation of Occam's razor than yours, because your God is.
Because
for instance, Fasad's wizard only needs to be.
And then when I quote scientists, that someone like Fred Hoyle says, by examining
we don't care. We don't care about the scientists.
Monkeyed with physics. You guys don't want to hear it.
No, Angel.
You guys want to. The scientists that
we want to hear.
The universe is fine tuned.
What we want to hear is their data.
We don't want to hear any of it.
No, we want to hear their data.
Hold up, both of you. Before I mute both of you. Before I mute both of you. Triple A, Angel, both of you, because right now you're just yelling back and forth at each other. That's not productive conversation.
You're right.
It's not the purpose of this argument. It's not the purpose of this discussion. I want to be very clear on something. It's not that we're disregarding the opinion of scientists that say there's fine-tuning. It's that typically, and I don't know some of the scientists that you preferred to, I do know Sir Roger Penrose, and I do know a few of the others you mentioned, and I do know some scientists that appeal to fine-tuning. But when you ask them about fine-tuning, their arguments typically fall apart pretty quickly. Or they backtrack into some form of religion, which is completely unrelated.
Also,
when
Roger
it comes
Penrose
to
is an agnostic.
Yeah, I know. I'm well aware.
Okay, so Roger Penrose, who you're quoting, Angel, does not agree with the conclusion you're coming to.
No, yeah, but it does when you examine all the evidence.
No, hold up. Let me finish what I was just saying, man.
Okay, so what is the most probable from all the evidence?
Okay, but hold up. Let's use Occam's razor, right? So is it possible that we have a universe that exists as it is?
I already moved on from that, and you guys are still not dealing with the fact that all these guys that they at least.
I don't care about their opinion when it comes to something that they're not giving evidence for.
They at least agree with fine tuning. And ultimately,
the people that you're quoting are likely a Christian with a bias of their own. B, when it comes to pushing them on evidence, why aren't they going to collect their Nobel Prize? Why aren't they writing published papers in scientific journals demonstrating the evidence? Okay, are you going to let me talk? Are you going to let me talk?
Everybody's talking at the same time.
Agnostics. I have quoted atheists.
Okay, so why are you quoting people that don't agree with your own conclusion?
Saying that the universe is fine-tuned, that's neutral. That's not even getting to...
That's incorrect because it poisons the well. What you just did, it poisons the well. It's like saying the universe was created, right? That automatically poisons the well because there is indicative that there needs to be a creator. And by saying that the universe is fine-tuned, poisons the well by saying there needs to be a tuner. You can't say that's not poisoning the well. And you can't say that you're not on the right side of Occam's razor here. You're definitely on the wrong side. Because you don't go from a universe that doesn't necessitate a God to a universe that necessitates not only a God, but an omnipotent, omniscient God who has specific rules on what clothes you wear and what food you eat. If you just took some of the properties of the Christian God away, you'd have a more likely possibility.
I can't talk about Christianity, and you guys are jumping into the subject, and I can't talk about the reason why I believe in Christianity.
No, but like we didn't really get to Christianity. Like, so here's the
comments about the Bible.
I want to make.
I didn't mention the Bible. Clear. I just said your God has opinions.
Yeah, I want to make something clear. So here's my problem. Right. So now you asked me where the universe, where the laws of physics came from, and you saw how I gave you an explanation of the data. Right now, when we asked you for Angel, hold on. I did answer your question.
Well, you did not.
The answer was I don't know, for like the 10th time, and the mathematics break down. That's what I said. That has been an answer every single time you've asked. So you can ask again. You're going to get the same answer. But don't say I didn't answer.
So there's no explanation for the universe as a whole.
Nobody said that. What we said was the model that we have right now, our best understanding of physics, break down at the Planck length. And beyond that, we cannot describe what's happening. That does not mean that there is no explanation. We just don't have one. There could be something that was going on before that point. We have no idea. The mathematics breaks down. There are attempts to resolve that. Superstring theory is one of those, and the mathematics produces a multiverse.
And by the way, this is exactly why he brought up the scenario of you looking at a telescope at the ocean.
Fine-tuning because it was actually plain T-ball. Because again, the majority of scientists do believe in fine-tuning.
No, they don't.
Atheist, agnostic.
No, they don't.
It just is.
No, they don't. Provide me any journal. I don't even care if it's a Christian one that shows that most scientists believe in fine tuning. Provide me one source. I dare you. I will cash app you a large sum of money if you can do it.
I already named a bunch of people.
Oh, okay, but that's not a majority of scientists. You're aware, right? You can't name 100 scientists. I bet off the top of your head. Now, trying to name every scientist and their belief on yeah, I dare you.
I just found a poll right here.
Okay, so we're
So you're just making up a stat, right? You're making up a stat. You don't know. You genuinely don't know the numbers, do you?
Make up anything.
You said a majority of scientists.
When I gave you guys quotes.
You said a majority of scientists believe in intelligent design.
So, all right. So no. So hey,
by examining the universe. So I'm not talking about in the, again, I'm not saying anything about evolution.
I'm not asking about evolution, bro.
Hold on, hey guys. If you wanna look this up, you can just Google. Just ask, are most physicists atheists? You will find out about 79% of them are. So let's just scratch that. You're not going to be able to provide evidence for that evidence.
First of all,
that's
not what I said. I said they believe in fine
tuning.
I didn't say they believed in God. I said they believe in fine tuning.
Are you okay with the quote for intelligent design as fine tuning? Because if so, 93%. That's the stat. 93% do not accept intelligent design.
First of all, what do you mean intelligent design? Is it in
that an intelligence designed the universe to be the way it is?
No, that
93%. I can give you the stat. Okay. I'll put it in the chat right now.
Okay. But all the people I quoted, they do believe in.
Okay, but that's not a majority of people.
Here's the thing. Hey, guys, hold on. Let's hold on. Hold on. I want to get us in. But here's the issue. Like, regardless of how many scientists do or don't believe in it, it's totally irrelevant. What I want to know is their data, because this is the issue that I'm having. Because you asked me a question, and I explained to you the process of how I got to my answer. Now, when I ask you, you just quote mine, and then I ask you, why do they believe that? And you can't really give me any substantive answer other than more quote mining. So let's not mention another name, because I don't care, right? Give me your data, show the evidence, and let's see how they just explain things. So at the beginning, you had mentioned, I'm gonna take this right back from the beginning of the conversation. You had mentioned low entropy at the beginning of the universe. What specifically about the amount of heat demonstrates that there is a God?
Okay. I did answer this question, but you guys are showing your bias.
Okay, no, okay. What was the answer? Angel, I forgot. Tell me again.
And ganging up on
Angel, please stop that. Please stop the ad hominem. I don't care about my bias. I want to know, what is your evidence? What was the answer you said? The early universe was really hot, therefore God. Give me the connection.
That is not what I ever said. I never even said that.
Okay, you said, I asked you, why do you believe the universe is fine-tuned? You said low entropy at the beginning of the universe.
That was one of the things that I have brought up.
Okay, so you did say that. So you're just saying the universe was really hot. That is what low entropy is.
I didn't just jump and say therefore God. No, I didn't.
Okay, so therefore it is fine-tuned. Please make the connection for me.
Well, you guys are right. There's no fine tuning. Right. Okay. If you guys want to believe that, that's fine.
So, Angel, please just answer the question. I'm asking you a question. The first thing you went to was low entropy. Now I'm going back to that because I never got an answer. Because when I asked you about low entropy, for some reason you started talking about the Hubble constant. Now, so let's talk about one specific thing.
He dropped the call.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on, Angel.
Yeah. Nathan in the chat. Thank you for joining and asking questions. Wanted to shout you out because you're new, at least as far as I can tell. Welcome to the show. Hope you enjoyed at least the intelligent conversation that we did have. It did get a little heated, and we try not to let that happen too often, although there are a few guests that's happened with. We do try to maintain a civil discourse. If you'd like to come in and have a conversation, you said you're not a young Earth creationist, but you are. It seems that you have at least some values coming from Christianity because you know some things about the Bible. I'd be interested in having you on. And Zach, it's your fault the guest left. You said you just started watching and he left. He saw your name on the chat, dropped out. No. Welcome. Sorry you're a little late, but you can go back and watch it. All of them are recorded live.
Yes.
Angel, if you watched the end of this for any reason, we do appreciate you coming on. And we genuinely do try to have a good conversation with every guest. We try to have a wholehearted conversation. And it may not be the case in this one. I don't know. But in general, every video we've watched, we've gone back and done analysis, and more times than not, our guest gets more talk time than we do. So he says we're ganging up on him, but if you go and look at any of the history of our videos with guests, more times than not, they get a single talk time of our combined talk time, if not more.
Well, I can tell you what would happen is one of us to ask a question, and then he start talking about something totally different. And then sometimes both of us would intervene at the same time, try to get him back on track.
Yeah,
so
unfortunately, that happens. I think next week we have Wesley on. Is that correct?
Yes.
Going to be next week? I don't know what day yet. We'll announce it on Facebook. He's the crazy guy. I don't like the term crazy, but he's the crazy tooth guy that Forrest mentioned. Unfortunately, Forrest is super tied up, so he won't be able to come on, but we're going to have him back on. If you haven't heard of him, or if you don't know, he's the Sad and Delicious video that's got all the traction on our channel. Really interesting conversation, at least. I guarantee you it'll be interesting and probably something like you've never heard before. On top of that, he's an excellent piano player, so if you are interested in hearing it, go check out his channel. It's genuinely, he's a mind-blowingly good piano player.
Yeah, Wesley Curry the second. It is.
Yeah, Wesley Curry the second.
You will be impressed.
Yep, I promise.
He is a monster on the piano.
And by the way, I'll post a link after we post the video. Angel has a video talking about the God of Physics that he put together from his channel. I'll link it and tag him. If he wants to remove the tag, that's completely up to him. But since he didn't get last word of the show, I would. You can come, Nathan. You can come on and talk with the delicious guy. We'll reach out when we have a date set. If you don't mind emailing us, it's nowthat'sdebatableStream@gmail. I'll put it in the chat real quick.
Also, Zach, come on, man, come on the stream, bro. Hit me up, man.
That's the email. You can email us if you'd like to come on. Yep. We will love to have you. You can even the playing field. As our last episode indicates, we don't mind necessarily even being outnumbered or tied together. I was the only person on the show not allowed to talk last week. Zach's scared of commitment. I don't want to dox you, but I think you have a wife and children. That's or commitments to time to us isn't that scary. We have people back out. It's not a big deal. We'll try to make it work around your schedule. But I really do appreciate everybody that tuned in. Feel free to go back and watch it. It was a good but frustrating conversation.
Yes.
Hopefully everybody learned a little something. And we'll see you guys next week with Wesley. And if we get something scheduled and Nathan, you email us and you want to come on at the same time as Wesley, I'm sure he won't care. He would love to tell you how he is God's chosen person, and you can kind of chime in on that if you'd like. So email us and we'll get that going, but we appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week.